crack open Celsius. You already know.
I know all about that.
So what's up, Mama?
What's up, son?
Oh, just out here beating myself up as always.
Just the typical Saturday afternoon in the living room.
No, I'm saying about my busted lip.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
No emergency room visit for you.
I know it doesn't hurt though when I smile or anything, so that's a good thing. Usually when you have like a cracked lip, if you smile,
open up, it all just like
yeah. No, it's fine.
So you were a little over dramatic about it when it happened, would you say?
I mean, it hurt.
Texting your fiance saying I just busted my lip open.
Well, I called her and I said, "Hey, I had an accident."
Oh my God.
And she's at work and everything. She's in work mode, so she's automatically thinking the worst. And she's like, "Well," I'm like, "Well, I got hit by something." And she's like, "Well, hopefully not a car, not a car accident." I go, "No, not a car accident, but I busted open my lip," which that's not an exaggeration.
No, it's an exaggeration. I had an accident. I got hit by something and I busted open my lip.
Okay, well,
you had a crack. There's a crack in your lip.
You have to set the scene,
Well, didn't you just set that scene up? I mean,
you have to set the scene and you have to make it not dramatic, but like,
the
way
dramatic.
I explain things. I'm like, well, listen,
it's a story.
Let me just tell you something. Okay, I'm okay. I'm not dead, obviously, or else I wouldn't be talking to you. But I had an accident, and then you go from there. And she was like, well, her first reaction was, "You need to go to the hospital," and that's her reaction with everything, as you know.
If you explain things like that, I could see how that would be.
Yeah, but I mean,
dramatic. Like I said,
I would say dramatic on both ends.
Really?
I mean, she with
She's
her,
a nurse.
I can
her
cut
job.
myself, give myself a paper cut, and she's automatically think I need to go to the hospital.
If you explain it like that, yeah.
I mean,
I gashed my arm.
I didn't say that.
With this sharp object. Meanwhile, it's a piece of paper.
I mean, listen.
Yeah.
Things happen. Okay. Man.
Lesson learned.
Seriously, lesson learned.
Now you know.
Yeah. So these shots that it's like a magic pill for people. I mean, and before we get into that, I guess you can kind of explain a little bit. You don't have to explain to me, but because I already know, obviously. But you're a personal trainer.
I am.
Okay. How long have you been a personal trainer for now?
About 17 years.
17. Yeah. Wow.
Ish. 16, 17 years.
Wow. And what other certifications do you have in total?
I am certified in nutrition and behavioral change, and also NLP.
What's NLP?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
What's that?
So it's a format that life coaches use.
You have to speak up a little bit.
It's a format that life coaches use with their clients.
Okay.
Also, hypnosis I'm certified in.
Okay.
And that's about it.
So like 3 or 4 things certification-wise?
Yeah.
Okay. So these shots, it's for they're not for weight loss.
So they were originally designed for diabetics.
Okay.
But I guess, I don't know too much on the specifics of the medication.
But first it was like Ozempic, right? It was like the first main thing that came out first, which was for diabetics. And I don't know too much about it, but I've heard that it's a side effect is like weight loss, but it's not it's not burning the fat for you, right? It's kind of.
So there's a couple different formulas that they have now.
Mm-hmm.
I think different drug companies have created different versions of it. geared towards what each individual need, like what certain people need, I should say. To the extent of what it does in the body, from what I understand, is part of it. And this is just kind of from what people are saying, like shuts off that food noise. So some of it is supposed to control hunger cues, I guess. And part of it, I guess, helps keep you fuller. Like you don't eat as much. You don't have as much of an appetite. And I think it affects people differently too. Like different people are going to have different effects from it.
Gotcha. So it's more
That's
like
what I understand.
More like an appetite suppressant supplement that you get the kind of like the same results.
So it does something in the body. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the specifics, but it does something that's supposed to aid with the weight loss.
Gotcha.
But I do know that you also, I did read that you do lose a significant amount of muscle tissue in comparison to fat.
And muscle weighs more than fat. So the dramatic weight loss that people are having is because not only they're losing fat, but they're also losing muscle at the same time.
That could be. But also if they're cutting down that much in calories as well, being on it, there is going to be a large weight loss, which is why it's important that when they are on it, they are exercising and eating enough protein and enough of all the proper nutrients so they're not deficient in anything.
Right. And because I know there's a few other ones. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, but I know there's like a few other versions. Like I've seen advertisements of like one that's called like him and hers.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's generic versions and different companies make, I think, like compounded versions.
Is it like, because I don't know a thing about diabetes and like the medicine for it, but like, is it supposed to like, is it kind of work like insulin in a way? Like, how is it supposed to?
I'm not sure of the details of it.
Right.
I mean, that's more on the medical side.
Yeah.
It's not something, because it's not something that I recommend to my clients in that sense. If I have a client that's on it, I'll support them in the process and make sure that they're doing all the things that I know they should be doing along with it.
Right. I mean that makes sense. I know we were kind of talking about like now there's a lot of people using it that aren't even diabetic.
Well, right, because that's where they've kind of veered into using it for weight loss.
But the bad thing with that is it hasn't been around long enough to where it's kind of like we know the long-term effects of it.
Oh, and
right?
We're not going to know the long-term. And like, I guess it would depend on how long someone is on it as well.
Well, and the other thing is how are these people getting it? Because don't you have to get it prescribed?
So prescribed by a doctor. I think so most people, I guess, can get it prescribed if they're overweight. It's a matter of, will your insurance cover it? Your insurance might only cover it if you're diabetic. But if you're doing it for weight loss, it's something you probably have to pay for out of pocket.
So are these doctors prescribing it in like a weight loss category? Like, oh, you're overweight, but you're not diabetic, but this works. This kind of helps.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a thing now. Like everyone's prescribing it.
But it's like, with normal medicine, usually a doctor won't prescribe it unless you have a problem.
Well, I mean, it's not like I can go into the doctor and say, hey, I want to do this medication.
Right. It's kind of like,
I don't know what their standards are, like how overweight you need to be to qualify for it.
I would think that you need to be diabetic in order to get.
Well, but I think they've made different versions of it to kind of gear towards just weight issues.
Gotcha. So they made different versions of it to kind of slide it under to where they could prescribe it under like, oh, this person needs this. And,
Again, like I don't know the complexities of every type there is out there.
Gotcha. And because what I'm most worried about is like how long these people stay on it.
So here's the thing. Like, I think like when it comes to people that have food addictions, that's a serious addiction, right? And it's not like it's easy to say to someone, hey, just stop eating that or just do this, right? It's an addiction. So as much as I wish, like in my profession, that people could just eat right, change their way of eating, change their lifestyle, like exercise and stay with a healthy weight that way. The reality in this world is it's very food focused, especially in America, the types of foods that are promoted, or even promoted as healthy, right? Like there's just a really, really serious situation going on in the food industry in America foremost. But I think with people with addictions, not that I promote that medication, but I really tried to think about it, the pros and cons of it. And for someone with an addiction like that, if this can kind of help get a grip on it, almost like an intervention. But along with that, I feel that it's so important that they use that time that they're on the medication to work on their food addictions, or maybe if it's not even a food addiction, if they just eat unhealthy or eat too much, work on that to have healthy eating habits and also to exercise, because at some point they're going to be off the medication.
Correct.
Right. And you see things about people going off and then they gain the weight back or even more weight,
right?
And that's
they basically
a shame.
Relapse.
Right. So that's not good for your body either. So, I mean, hopefully that the medical industry can really implement when they are given this medication. Hopefully they're educating the patients enough to what they need to be doing along with it, because it is a lifestyle change at the end of the day. So again, not that I promote it or don't promote it, I think it comes along with a lot of responsibility, because there is no magic pill there. But if that can give someone a jump start on changing their life, like, you look at someone that's obese and really unhealthy and with medical issues, and it's like, okay, what's worse? Like having all that going on or having whatever effects from this medication, right? You got to kind of weigh out the two.
Right.
Like if they honestly can't do it on their own realistically, because again, it's easy to say like, well, why don't they just do this? Why don't they just do that? That's like saying to an alcoholic, why don't they just stop drinking?
Right. It's a true addiction.
It might not be that easy. Or maybe someone is just even not educated on what healthy eating is. Or maybe they don't have the means of going to a gym. Maybe they don't have a car. Maybe they don't have the money in their budget to do that. So it gets complex.
And the most simple version of somebody trying to lose weight, because I love kind of talking to people, and they ask like, oh, how did I lose weight or whatever? And it's like, I always see people trying to overcomplicate it or think that there is some sort of magic pill. And I guess like the most simplest version, correct me if I'm wrong, is literally just staying in a calorie deficit with healthy foods, like staying within your macros. And staying within your macros is just hitting like your proteins, your carbohydrates, your sugars, and all that stuff. But with good food, and then working out. Like that's the simplest way. If you do just that, you'll lose weight.
For the most part,
right? The most simplest way to put it to people, when you say that, and it's like, it almost in their brain, it's like you just simplified it for them. You gave them like the whole process, but to them, they're like, that's difficult, or like that seems too complicated, right? And they still, even though that's that simple, to them, they want to find something simpler, kind of like the shot or this magic pill, like all the supplements out there that like promote like weight loss, if you take it once a day or whatever. And it's like, you're not going to. And I find it with people that kind of tell me like, oh, well, I've been working out and everything and I've been eating good, but I still haven't lost weight. Well, numbers don't lie. If you actually count your calories, right, and what you're supposed to be eating, and you figure out what your deficit is, if you're eating over that, it doesn't matter how much you work out. Like, if you're taking way too many calories, you're not going to lose weight. You're either going to stay stagnant or you're going to gain weight. Yeah. Right?
And there's some people where they might have metabolic issues or hormone issues that, or even like thyroid, that might play a role in them losing weight, right? So there is that percentage of people. But also keep in mind, Tyree, that not everyone is knowledgeable enough of those specifics of healthy eating. Like healthy eating, like you know what healthy eating is,
right? Absolutely,
because you live with me, right? Mm-hmm. And I've taught you some things, and you learn, like you've done it. Some people just they don't have that knowledge,
absolutely.
Right? Like, and to them, healthy eating might look very different than what it actually takes to lose weight,
right?
You know? So I think, like, just in general, being able to educate every human, right, in America, that would be difficult. Like, I wish they would teach this in the schools, like, early on.
Of course.
You know?
Of course, but even what they're feeding the kids in school is, like, ridiculous.
And some of the schools, I think, are getting better with that. But, I mean, it stems from home, number one, like what the parents are feeding the kids, what they have in the house. And look at the supermarkets.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I've heard things like we don't even have the same like cereal as what Canada does.
Well, so some of the ingredients, no, and this is real. Like in Europe versus America, I know like one of the things that I had read about was ketchup, for example. Like you look at it could be like Heinz ketchup, right, in America versus in somewhere in Europe, and the ingredient list is not the same. Like there are things that they will not put in their ketchup,
right?
That they might use fruit to color something, and we'll use like blue dye number 40 or something. I'm just something crazy. So there's certain things that they don't allow in their food that we do, but I mean, just in general, like going through the supermarket, there's things, some cereal boxes like heart healthy on the cereal. Yet there could be like 20 grams of added sugar in it. So like for the consumer that doesn't have all that information, that can be difficult. Also, like depending on the areas you live in any city or town, like I said, people not having access to healthy options. What if, their budget is going to the corner store for their groceries? Like, what do you find in there? Or a family that is on a tight budget trying to feed their kids, their family, and they're buying more of the processed food because, maybe they feel that's more affordable.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a huge problem in general.
Well, I think Whole Foods does it's an amazing place to shop, but I feel like you go in there. I mean, you alone, you go in there, you get one bag, and it's $100. And I know.
Now I got 2 bags for $100.
But it's still like you said, like if people are on a budget, like Whole Foods is not the place to go.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But like for me, when I'm like trying to lose weight, I know what to shop for, right? And I think that kind of goes hand in hand to what you teach as a nutritionist. It's like you kind of can let them know what to get, depending on what budget they have and everything. Because I can go into Publix and get whatever I need to get and get out for $50, and I have a week and a half of food.
But also keep in mind, like you eat very simple. I eat very simple.
That's the thing.
Some people like don't want to eat the same foods every single day, or with not a lot of different elements in it.
Right.
And yeah, they're gonna spend more on groceries, or they need different things.
Absolutely.
So not overcomplicating it definitely makes it more cost effective.
That's how I like doing it. It's just simple. Like
Me
simple,
too.
and it works, and that's why I say a lot of people like to try to overcomplicate it and make it more difficult and try to add all these different ingredients to try to make it taste good. You know, it's like,
well, I mean, some people do want their food to taste.
No, not saying it in a way like it tastes like garbage, but like you don't need to be like a Michelin star chef to, you know, meal prep for the week, right?
Yeah, and it's different if your goal is like meal prep, you know, to be healthier, to lose weight and stuff, that you can keep super simple. If you're on the weekend cooking or you have guests, it's nice to make something a little nicer, which I do, you know, at times. And yeah, it requires more ingredients, different food, a little more thought.
More expensive food.
And I think more expensive in the sense where now you're adding more elements to it, right? Just in that sense.
Do you find it like, because I haven't really looked that hard into it, but I've heard people say like unhealthy food is less expensive than healthy food, and kind of saying it broadly, right? Because you can nitpick certain things where like this is more healthier, but you know, you can't compare the two to each other, I guess, in a way, because they're kind of separate foods, if that makes sense.
And this is where I feel I don't think that's necessarily the case, because first of all, you don't have to buy organic vegetables to have healthy food, right? So, I mean, that's definitely going to be a higher price point. You could still buy frozen vegetables at a lower cost, maybe than fresh sometimes, right? And you can be at a good price point. So you're talking like maybe compared to canned goods. Canned goods are probably the most cost effective for people. Like canned vegetables, I don't even know what else comes in a can sometimes. But like when you think about it, look at the cereal aisle. Most cereal is not the most healthy. And look at the price of cereal.
Yeah, no, they've
$6-7 for a box of cereal now.
Well, look at like food out. Let's talk about food out as far as expense, right? If you were trying to eat healthy, okay. Your options, like unhealthy, you have all the fast food restaurants, right? You have McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all that, right? For healthy food, and depending on where you are, I mean, where we live, we're very fortunate to where we have a lot of healthy restaurants and fast food restaurants at that too. But I mean, McDonald's is crazy expensive. You can go there, two people easily drop $40.
Which is insane. Like that's not a big difference if we went to like Carrot Express or Pura Vida.
Pura Vida, though, is you go there, two people, you know,
it could be $60.
It's $70, you know, and so it like
also depends on what you order, though.
And it's like, as far as like quick food, I think you're just it's almost.
But look, you can go out and get an acai bowl from someplace and spend $15 on that, right? But that's a meal. If one person were to go to get, I don't even know the fast food places, like what it costs for one person.
It's expensive.
If you're getting a soda, French fries, and a sandwich.
For instance, McDonald's. I haven't been to McDonald's in a while, but I think the last time I went was with my fiance, and we both went there, and it was $35-$40.
Okay, so
for like a couple of burgers, fries, and a drink.
Average maybe $15 for one person. Let's just say.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So again, that's like definitely comparable price wise.
Yeah, but you can I'm not gonna lie, you can taste the difference. Like if I go eat at Pura Vida versus a McDonald's or a Subway or just anything quick, like I can taste the difference. But you know, and it's worth it. But we can afford it, you know, and it's like.
But if you can afford to eat out, like to buy McDonald's.
Right.
You know, come on. How tight of a budget are you on?
Yeah. But I feel like as far as like going out to a sit-down restaurant, it's very easy to find something healthy, right?
Oh, yes.
Like very easy.
As easy it is to find something unhealthy, I think.
You're not 100%. But if you're going out to a sit-down restaurant, it's very easy to pick a meal, you know, that's literally just has base protein and some vegetables on the side. You know, you don't need to always get a salad every single time you go, you know. But yeah, I mean, just the price of food in general, I think, has just gone up on both ends. And I do also feel like you can go into Publix and buy a whole bunch of unhealthy food, and the amount that would last you the same amount of time as you were to get from Whole Foods, and it would be roughly kind of close to this, if not the same, you know, for because you have to buy a lot more unhealthy food to even get to your macros, I would think.
Just as far as like,
or even just to feel
being
full.
nutrient dense.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
Because I feel like you can eat a lot. Like you can eat a whole bag of chips, right? And I don't know. Let's just say it's what 1,500 calories for a whole bag of chips for like a big bag.
I don't know.
Roughly.
We'd have to calculate.
But like you'd be hungry an hour later versus
sure.
eating like a super nutrient packed meal.
I love how you're pointing to the kitchen.
Yeah, I know. It's right behind us. That's why. But yeah, I which I've come to learn, like if I eat, let's just say I get a sandwich from somewhere, right? It's a 1,200 calorie sandwich, you know, but you're hungry a couple hours later, right? Versus if I eat 1,200 calories of like chicken, rice, and vegetable, I won't be hungry
you're gonna stay full
hours later, you know? And that's another reason why people gain weight is because you just keep on eating because you're not full. Like you can eat a lot of it, you know?
Yeah.
At least it's happened for me. But I mean, I didn't realize you've been a trainer for that long though. Yeah. Does it feel like it's been that long?
Time goes by quick.
Does it feel like it's been that long?
Yes.
Are you tired of it?
Oh gosh, not at all. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I really do. It's so rewarding to be able to be on someone's journey with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's also cool seeing like the different levels of a trainer that you've become, which I didn't even realize there was like different levels until like I kind of watched you grow into who you are now. And I know we've talked about it before, but after seeing you train somebody versus going into like a chain gym and seeing how those trainers are training their clients, and a lot of them are just on their phone or not even looking at them or looking at other people, and it's like, okay, now I understand why you get paid what you get paid, right? And you have to give the cut to the gym, and that's how you started.
Sure.
Right? You started at the front desk of a gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, you were overweight yourself.
I was. I went through my own journey.
Right. So that's crazy within itself, that you lost weight, then became a personal trainer, and now you're here where you are, you know? So what, like after your weight loss, what kind of made you get into training?
I mean, I was very unhealthy before I lost weight, mentally and physically. And I had no knowledge of what eating healthy was or healthy lifestyle. So when I went through the transformation, it was like I was a whole different person. And I couldn't believe how it turned even like my whole mental health around. It was incredible. Like my entire life changed. My entire like outlook on everything changed. And I just became very passionate about it, and decided like I want to help people like do that. Like anyone can do this.
Right.
Because I was, I did it on my own. I didn't have a trainer.
Really? I didn't know that.
I just counted my calories, and my exercise was walking down the block, which was an effort. I never exercised before that.
Right.
I started walking half a mile, and then I turned it into a mile. And that was like a big deal for me. That was an effort.
Do you remember how long it took for you to like kind of get down to like a specific weight that you were like, okay, like I'm okay with?
It took me 2 years to lose about 50 pounds.
No way.
It was very gradual, and it was just consistent throughout the 2 years.
So that was back?
That was
back in 2000.
That was 20 years ago.
2005, 2004.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was 30.
Wow. I didn't know it took 2 years. I mean, for me, I was 5 years old when it happened. So, but wow.
Yeah. It was gradual. And like I said, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now on any of it. So it was just.
And you could have cut that time in half if you had the knowledge.
Oh, sure. And I wasn't going to a gym or anything.
Right.
It wasn't until after I lost all my weight that I started working at the gym and I started working out, strength training. And then I went through a whole, another transformation with my body. And then I started diving into nutrition, which was a huge part of it. And I was like, wow.
A whole new light.
It matters what you eat too.
Right, exactly.
Which was just like mind blowing. Like, why is every trainer not learning about nutrition? Why do doctors not, know about nutrition? Why is no one teaching anyone this stuff?
And because to be a personal trainer, you don't need to be certified in nutrition.
No, I mean, in the certification for training, they dabble in nutrition a little bit, but yeah, it's such a huge part. I mean, I even taught a group of kids about nutrition when I first became a trainer. Yeah. Because that's where it all starts. They're little sponges. They loved to hear about it.
Oh yeah.
It was the parents that we had to convince.
Well, it matters. If you gotta change your diet before anything, or else whatever you do outside of that doesn't really matter.
Well, no.
To a certain extent.
It all matters.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, it all matters. And you know what? Some people don't want to make as drastic of changes as others. So I think it's all very personal based, like what people want to change, what they're willing to change.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm passionate about it. And I think that's why I'm still to this day in this profession.
Mm-hmm. So 2004, 2005, you started losing weight. Took you about 2 years. And then you got a job working the front desk at a gym.
Right.
Okay. So how long from when you started working at the gym at the front desk did you go for your personal trainer certificate?
You're asking me details.
No,
just
I know you're not good with remembering stuff, but just kind of like a broad time, would you say?
Once I started studying, it probably took me a few months. Okay. And I feel very blessed in that I was in the right environment to learn. And I had a wonderful group, like a training group, like the head personal trainer and the other trainers there to help me. Like we would work out together and they were there to answer questions and I could like watch them train their clients. So I was so lucky to be in that environment while I was learning. Like it was hands-on.
It was basically like a technical school for you because you were learning and hands-on.
Yeah. So what a wonderful experience that I had there.
Okay.
So it took a few months
to get your
get my certification. Okay. Yeah. And then there I was, like ready to train.
Wow. Yeah, I remember because I was thinking about getting my personal trainer certificate. There's not really a time frame. Like you have a certain amount of time where you could take the test.
Sure.
But it's not necessarily like, oh, you have to go to school for a year. It's self-study.
Yeah. I mean, there are some like actual schools you can go to. Or live programs that you can do, but most of them are self-studies.
Okay. So just a couple of months and then you get your personal training certificate. How long after you get your certification do you get your first client?
I had my first client waiting for me.
Really?
I was, again, very lucky. Frankie's dad,
yes,
Frank,
yes,
had a client waiting for me, and it was Lucretia. She was my very first client.
And you're still speaking to her till this day.
That
she just came down and saw us.
Mama.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, she was my first client.
She used to cut my hair.
That's right.
I remember that. So she took a chance on you, and
Frank gave her to me.
Frank took a chance on you.
That was his client.
Yeah, because my next question was gonna be like, do you remember your first client?
Absolutely. I'll never forget that.
That's crazy.
And I trained her for years there until I moved over to this coast. So.
Right. So maybe people would want to know is kind of like what the setup is like as far as like if they want to pursue like becoming a personal trainer, right? Like, so if you start out in a gym, right, what does it kind of consist of? Like you were lucky enough to where you were already there, working at the front desk. So it kind of smoothly went into becoming a personal trainer there.
Yes.
Right.
And I knew it was a small gym. So
Right.
you knew all the members, and they all knew that I was studying for this. So I had some people interested because we had already built, a good relationship that were ready to sign on.
Let's say just some regular person got certified, right? And they wanted to start training at the gym.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of how's the process on that?
So, I don't know what the process would be now, just kind of finding a gym where you're a good fit and getting in with that training program, which I think is a great place to start as a trainer rather than on your own. For just like the teamwork and the knowledge that you gain from that. And when you work in a gym, you have the ability to, you have like more clients,
Right.
Access to more clients.
Well, all the members there could potentially become
anyone could be
your
client.
Yeah. And so pretty much it's like applying at any job really is like you can find a post on Indeed or whatever looking for a trainer.
Sure. And you go on an interview, they're going to interview there.
And usually you talk to the training manager.
Trainer, training manager.
Which I know you were a head trainer manager at one of the gyms over here.
The gym on Fort Lauderdale Beach.
So after you get hired, you don't technically have clients, right?
They don't just fall on your
exactly.
lap.
Could they?
So most gyms, again, I don't know how. It's been years since I have worked out of a gym, but most gyms will offer like free orientations to new members, and the trainers kind of rotate and do that, and that's your opportunity to gain clients that way. People will come into the gym looking, asking for a trainer. That's another opportunity. Just being in the gym, talking to people. So being in that environment, you have that type of opportunity.
Gotcha. And I know
referrals are huge.
Yeah. And I know that they also try to set up at least a good gym. I don't know about these chain gyms, but I know a good gym would kind of set you up, find the right fit for you, because I know it's normally like rotation, kind of like how it is like car salesman. Yeah. Like usually like, all right, you already talked to this person, now it's my turn. But I know kind of they'll try to set you up with the right person.
I hope so.
Depending on how the trainer
I know I did
trains.
that well, because certain people are looking for certain things, or someone might have a certain injury or different goals, right?
Right.
That one trainer might specialize in. So you want to be able to like provide a good service for that person that needs the training. You don't
kind of fit their needs.
Anyone.
Right, which I feel like some gyms do. I mean, I personally haven't gone through that experience because I haven't had a trainer at a gym before. But I could imagine some would just kind of set them up with whoever and just be like, okay,
I hope not.
Good luck, Okay, so you started training. You got your first client. And then, because to make a career out of training, you need a decent amount of clientele, right?
Yeah.
And you're also, so with training at the gym, you split, right, with the gym itself.
It depends on the gym. Some do a split for each session. Some gyms I've been at, you pay like a certain amount of rent per month.
Gotcha.
And then the sessions are between you and the client. So it just depends on how each gym operates.
Right. But like first starting off, it's really good to get your foot in the door through a gym.
Sure. When you're just starting out and you want to build up a clientele.
Right. Absolutely. Exactly. And I know, are they fixed rates in a gym, or can you kind of make your own price?
So again, the experience I've had when doing a split on the sessions, the training manager usually sets
the price,
the rates, but also I've seen it where there's different tiers. So depending on the experience of each trainer, there are different prices. So it just depends on the individual gym and training team.
Right. And so I guess another question would kind of be like, roughly, like just to get by, let's just say you're single, you're living on your own, right? Roughly, like how big of a clientele would you need? I know that kind of depends on how much they're paying, right,
and how much you're getting. I don't know what the rates are in some of these gyms.
Gotcha.
Today, so I'm not sure.
But it would be a decent amount.
I mean, if that is your career, like it kind of is like real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's if you're doing real estate part-time, like it's going to be a different outcome income-wise than if that's your full-time job, right? And that is to pay your bills. I feel like if with training, like if you want that to really be consistent and pay your bills, dive in, and it's got to be everything.
Right. You got to put in a lot more effort.
It's not anything I ever did part-time. Like I did it being, okay, this is my career. Mm-hmm. Some people do it part-time. Some people do it, some young adults do it while they're in college as a side job.
Right.
So when your comment about it being in some gyms and you seeing the difference in trainers, to some trainers, it might just be a job.
Right.
It might be like, oh, because they like working out or they're good at it so they can train other people, but it's not their passion. And so, I mean, that can appear with anyone in any profession, right? You're going to put in it how deeply you feel about it, how passionate you are.
And that's what you're going to get.
You could do a
it.
great job at something, or you can do a crappy job at something, depending on how much of your heart you put into it.
Right.
So
depending on how far you want to go and, how successful you want to be is whatever amount of effort you're willing to put into it. Sure. Just like any other job.
And your work ethic. Right.
And you got to be there too. Even if you're not trained, like if you're new, you got to be there, like kind of like show face.
Sure. If you're working in a gym and you're trying to get clientele, like the more you're there, the more familiar everyone is with you.
Right. So it is kind of like real estate where like you got to show all these
hours that you're not getting paid for.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And especially in the beginning, you got to be there kind of like a 9 to 5 thing where it's like, you got to be there all day, even if you're not training, and sometimes it's not worth it.
It's more than 9 to 5.
Exactly.
There's people, I was training people 5, 6 in the morning, sometimes 8, 9 at night. But for me, like I didn't mind being at the gym all day. Like that was my life.
Yeah.
For so long, just being in the gym all day. And I was happy there doing it.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like the most convenient thing to, let's say you have 2 or 3 hours between your next client to go home, do whatever, come back. Sure. You kind of want to just be there, and plus you can get a workout in too if you kind of
can always get a workout.
Exactly. It's always good to just
every break
around.
Is an opportunity for a workout.
Exactly. And so so you got your first client. You probably got a couple after that.
Yeah.
Close after. And so how long after that did you get your certification in nutrition?
That I honestly don't remember, because I'd say within a couple years, I probably started getting a couple of nutrition certifications because I really got into the nutrition and pretty quickly.
There's multiple nutrition certifications?
Well, sure. Like behavioral change, I mentioned that actually has to do a lot with like nutrition and lifestyle change.
Gotcha.
So, I did sports nutrition at one point. I've studied nutrition for bodybuilding. I've studied holistic nutrition, like in my later years.
Yeah. Are you able to, so as a personal trainer working at a gym, right? Are you able to kind of do those side things to where like you can build like a meal plan for somebody on the side?
There's a fine line on what you can do legally, and it varies state by state as far as nutrition.
If you're
No, even with a certification.
Really?
Unless you are a licensed dietitian. So I use like software programs for nutrition, and that's how I could create meal plans for people, because they're like backed up by dietitians, these software programs.
It has to like basically go through them almost in a way.
They help to build it technically.
Okay.
But it's a fine line on like what nutrition advice you can give, even as a certified nutritionist. You would think, right? Like with all that background that you could. But I mean, yeah, because think about people with health issues. If anyone is just like writing up meal plans, right? And someone has some type of health issue or
whether you're certified or not,
like you don't, like that's pretty serious.
I did not. So what does it take to be, if you know?
Oh, a dietitian?
Is it kind of like being a doctor almost?
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I remember I looked into it and I'm like, that's a lot of schooling.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So like even doing that on the side, especially since you're working out at a gym, you're kind of like, okay, let me not. It's more just like more knowledge.
If I went into that, I feel like all that education, it would be great to be able to have all that education.
Right.
But maybe if I wanted to go more deeply into that field, not just as an addition to what I'm doing.
Right.
Not saying I wouldn't do it in the future, you know?
So how long did it roughly take you to like, because single mother, 2 kids, right? We were both young in school. How long did it kind of, because you jumped from, I think it was like real estate, and then you said, okay, I'm gonna become a personal trainer now. Like, how long did it take you to like become comfortable enough to where you're like, okay, this is bringing in stable income. Like, I can do this for sure full time, and like, I'm gonna be okay.
So I feel like definitely within a couple years.
Really?
I mean, and not even that long. Like, pretty quickly, I built up my clientele. And like I said, I was lucky enough to where a lot of the members already knew me. And I was part of an awesome team there at the gym. So I was very lucky to build up my clientele pretty quick.
Right.
And have a decent income to where I can support my family.
Right. Because that's what every trainer is looking for.
Right. But I think, and maybe, I don't know if like someone would get into that now, if it would be as easy. Right.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
We're talking many years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
to get to where you are now, you know, and even somebody, like you said, trying to get into it now, it's kind of like, I don't really know if you could make a living, especially right away, because you have to build clientele. You need to have like a decent amount of people that train regularly.
You can make a living off of it. I just don't know how quickly.
Right.
Right. It depends, you know, again, how much you put into it.
Right. Exactly.
Who you know.
A lot of who you know. Okay, so you're established now. You've been working at that gym. You kind of worked there for a couple of years. Yeah. Got a couple of certifications underneath your belt as far as nutrition and everything. And then from there, you moved to a different gym. Kind of same aspect there, right? Kind of similar cut and everything. And you're kind of just still learning more, having more clients, different types of clients and everything.
Yeah, it was a little different at that second gym because there wasn't like a head trainer. We were kind of more on our own. We were working through the gym, but more on our own.
Gotcha. And like, so like an orientation, right? Let's say I was coming in and I wanted a trainer, right? And I had to sit down, because you would sit down with them first, right? Kind of do like an interview in a way to figure out,
you know, what your goals are, what your background in health and fitness, any medical issues, stuff like that.
Okay. And then it's kind of ask a question of like, oh, how many days would you like to train? You know, and then you kind of have to figure out what works for you, what works for them. And then after that, they buy sessions, right? So, and there's like packages and everything. I'm not going to ask you what those packages were, you know, but it's like you'd pretty much buy like 12 sessions in a package.
Yeah, you could buy a package. You could buy one session if you just want to try it out.
And obviously for the trainer, it's more beneficial if they buy packages.
Well, it's a commitment, right? Like, it's easy for someone to do one session and not go further, right? When you're buying a package for that commitment, because you're not going to make a change in one session. But some people just want to do one session to get familiar with maybe a workout that they can do. It's been a while since they worked out. They just want to get set up on a workout. So I've done that. Or I've just done 1 or 2 sessions with someone to put them in a routine. But if they, you know, want more than that, and a package is going to benefit them. And
it's up to you really in the end to make them sign up for more packages, right? It's all about your attitude and how, like, the relationship that you build with that person, right? To make them feel comfortable enough to want to do more with you. Because you have to continue to sell yourself realistically, right? You have to make sure not only on your end, but like you're hoping that on their end that they're doing the diet side, because if they're not doing that, then whatever you're doing for them isn't going to show, and they're going to think that it's your fault, right?
So most people know if they're doing their part,
right,
on the nutrition end.
They can kind of see like, okay, it's not them, it's me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I've had people yell at me and, like, I'm not losing weight, when people are not making certain progress, we talk about it, and like, I encourage people to keep a food journal. Like, let's take a look at what you're doing. And there's things that people don't account for. Again, like I said, is a lot of it is like, that's a lot of change for some people. When some people think that they're eating healthy, or they don't realize, like, if they're eating a meal out, even if it's chicken and potatoes and a vegetable, that there's more calories and sodium and fat usually in it than if you were making it at home.
Right.
So, I mean, depending on what people's goals are, yeah, like, there's a lot that can be learned about nutrition. But for the most part, people, someone knows if they're, eating cookies at night in front of the TV. Like, maybe they veered off that plan a little bit.
No, absolutely.
And I mean, for the most part, most of my clients have been honest with me about, some are straight up like, hey, look, I am not willing to, change X, Y, and Z. I want to be healthier. I want to be stronger. So everyone has different goals. It's not always about like losing pounds or inches. To some people, it's just about like maintaining a certain level of health, like being able to move still at a certain age, and to move functionally.
Right. So I'll get back to the timeline, but like really for people like trying to become personal trainer, and in order to become like successful out of it, which I don't think a lot of people see, is kind of like the behind the scenes and like how much work goes into it behind the scenes as a trainer, right? If you want to be successful, if you want to be better than these regular trainers that just come in and do it for a job, like the amount of time that you put in behind the scenes per person is crazy. And I know like I'm jumping ahead to what you do now, but just the amount of time like you put in after a session or before a session, I mean, it's crazy. Like how much time would you say you put in per person, roughly, right? Like setup wise.
I mean, there's hours that go into each client per week off session time. I mean, I'm always available. I've always been available via like text, email, phone for any of my clients anytime, with the exception of the middle of the night. I'm sleeping.
Well, as far as like building
so, I mean, you're building their workouts. You might be working on getting information for them. You might be answering questions for them. You might be helping them navigate the supermarket, or they're going to a restaurant tonight. Like, what should they eat? And you're looking over menus with them.
Right.
Maybe they need motivation. So I think there's more that goes into it. I think a huge part of it is relationship building and communication.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, building relationships with your client. Your client, they want to find a trainer that's a good match for them, right? So being able to have that rapport with them.
Right. And because at the end of the day, they are just paying you for that, half hour session or that hour session, but, you're really doing a lot more than that.
Oh, it's more than that. And it's the accountability for them.
Right. And it shows in the back end of like how much work that you're doing for them, with them only paying you for that one session that they have.
It's not like, oh, I'm paying you this for an hour of your time. Like, it goes deeper than that for sure.
Because you would like,
and just even like the constant education, there's always stuff to learn.
And that benefits not only you, but everybody that you're training, and they're not paying for that really. And so I've always found that interesting, is how much time that you actually put in the back end. It's like, own your own company in a way where it's like you're having 70-hour work weeks, versus a 9-to-5 person that's only working 40, But so you move to another gym. So this is the second gym, right? And then after that, you kind of moved to a different part of Florida, and you ended up at a totally different gym. And did you start out as a manager at the gym?
No.
Okay.
At the gym on the beach?
Yeah. So now how deep are we into your personal training
So that was like
career?
2012-ish maybe that I ended up
at the gym
in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
So, okay.
You do the math.
We're like looking at like 6.
You got my brain spinning with all these.
I would say 6 years. You know, if you started like at 2006.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't say 2000, maybe 2007, 2008.
Okay, so 5-6 years, we'll say. And so you have a decent amount of knowledge now. You train a decent amount of clients with a lot of different injuries or, you know, body styles or whatever. And how did you basically go from just a trainer to a manager? And being a personal trainer at the same time?
I don't remember how that all unfolded.
I know it was more because you knew the owner of the gym. You know, and like we said, it's who you know. Yeah. You know, and it maybe happened like fluidly where you got put in charge of all the trainers.
Yeah, I think it kind of just trickled in.
I mean, you basically did it all. You started at the front desk, you got into training, you had some years under you, and then you became now manager in charge of the trainers.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in all different aspects of the gym. Even made the best smoothies ever.
I remember that. I remember that. So how is it as a manager?
It was a responsibility.
Okay.
Kind of keeping track of everything and everyone. I was a person that, you know, a lot of clients would come to. Members would come to me.
What are you in charge of? Like, what is your role? Like, because
so it was small, right? It was a small gym. It wasn't, and all the trainers were independent contractors for the most part. So just, you know, talking to clients that needed training, fitting them with the trainers that would be a good fit, making sure all the trainers had their certifications up to date, their CPR, the group instructors, that they had all their information in, and we had everything on file and updated all the time.
Right. You said independent contractors, which I want to kind of get into real quick. So do you have to be an independent contractor to be a personal trainer, or can you be hired through the company, the gym itself, and get paid through them?
So like we got paid through the gym. We were still independent contractors. It's how we claimed our taxes.
Does that work with all the gyms?
I'm not sure.
Or is that how you always did it?
That's how it was at the gym.
How was it at the other gyms? Were you an employee of the gym?
No. When I trained at that first gym, I was still an independent contractor, I believe.
I know. I know. It's been years. Tyree. Okay. All right. So,
I mean, I built my LLC and I had my own company. So I always had everything in my name.
That's the normal way, or roughly what a lot of people do, is they're independent.
I think so.
They're an independent contractor. They have their own company, and then.
But you know, you're still getting some gyms. You're still getting paid through the gym.
Right. It's just you split. That's how they split
like I said, some gyms I've been at too, where you pay rent, and then that session price and the transaction is between you and the client.
Gotcha. So
I've done it both ways.
So you got a little boost in pay, I'd imagine, being a manager, and then also being a personal trainer instead of just being a personal trainer.
There are benefits.
Benefits. Okay.
But again, I enjoyed it. Like I was there all the time. I loved being such a huge part of everything, you know?
Yeah. So, okay, so now you're a manager and you're still a personal trainer, and you stayed there for a couple of years, and then that gym unfortunately closed down, and they had to tear down that whole strip. It was the best gym ever. I miss it. They had the best view. It was right on the beach, and they had a view of the beach with a rooftop. It was amazing, and then the owner ended up selling at the same time. And so you moved right down the street into on the beach in kind of like a plaza, smaller, way smaller.
Yeah.
Way smaller.
Yeah.
And then you only stayed there. This was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So you'd only stayed there, I don't even think a year, right?
No, COVID shut that down though.
So okay. So this is where kind of your career took a big change. Yeah, a big turn, right? Because you moved to the new gym. I think you were only there for a couple months. And I know they had some problem with plumbing and everything. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And once COVID hit, that kind of shut down the whole training thing, face to face, in person, all that stuff. And gyms were closing. And so I can imagine how scary that kind of was for you, you know, training in person in a gym, and all these gyms are closing down and they can't stay open. And I never asked you, you know, how is that for you?
So keep in mind, at that time, I was already training some of my clientele virtually.
Okay, so let's back up then.
Yeah.
Let's back up to when you started doing that.
So being in Fort Lauderdale, there's a lot of seasonal people here. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if I had clients that were here during the winter months that I trained, and they would go back home, like to their other location for the rest of the year, as I built relationships with them, you know, I ended up training people virtually. And that was kind of when the virtual training was really new. You know, it wasn't, I mean, we're still talking over 10 years ago.
Wow.
When it wasn't as much of a thing.
This was at the gym on the beach? You started doing this? Okay.
And yeah, so I started training some of my seasonal people virtually.
How did that go? How did that work out with the gym?
Well, I would do that on my time.
Okay.
Like I could do that from home. I could do it outside.
So it
anywhere.
didn't create
No, it didn't, because those members weren't present in the
gotcha.
gym.
Okay,
you know?
okay. So you didn't have to split that, obviously.
No.
So you're taking the full income from what you were making
from those sessions, yeah.
Okay. So you started doing that before COVID hit and everything, but you were only doing that kind of like here and there.
Well, throughout the years, like it built up more.
Okay.
I started training a handful of people, my seasonal clients, virtually.
But you're still in the gym.
Oh yeah.
How to do
Very
that?
much
You couldn't. Basically, what I'm trying to, you couldn't just drop the gym.
No. I had the majority of my clients in person.
Okay. So, all right. So now that we have that, so we moved to the new gym. Mm-hmm. COVID happens.
Shut it down.
Even though you had some clientele virtually, right? There had to have been some kind of like scariness of like kind of like I just lost my job, like anybody else would.
Not so much.
Or like nervousness a little bit, kind of like, okay, my career's taking a complete turn now.
No, I think I kind of went on to like hustle mode. Like, all right, like I don't think I even gave myself a minute to be nervous about what the future could look like.
Did it kind of almost?
And also, keep in mind, we didn't know that things were going to be shut down for months at that point. Yeah. Like we're like, we'll reopen in a couple weeks, right? Everyone's on a break.
Yeah.
So we didn't know. Like, can't be nervous about something you don't know.
Did it kind of bring you back almost to like when you first started training, and like it put you in that mindset of like, I need a hustle to get my own clientele now?
You know what I did is I turned a majority of my clients into virtual.
Right.
You know, it was like at that moment you scramble, and I had everyone order what they could. Everyone was like ordering all the TRX straps before they sold out. Like, go to Dick's and get your dumbbells before they're all sold out. You know, I was giving clients like some equipment I had at different points because like you couldn't get anything at that point.
And they still wanted to train.
Yeah, everyone was like, yeah, because I had my clientele, again, very lucky that most of my clients have been my clients for years. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, oh, a new client. And then what do you do with them? Like, these are people that have been training for years with me. Like, they don't want to just stop. And not to mention, especially with COVID, like, what else are people doing? Now everyone's stuck home. They're going to go crazy.
Right.
You know, like, it's so good for them, even more so for their physical and mental health, and to have that interaction too.
Right.
You know, that was the one constant thing, right? You're meeting with your trainer that you've been meeting with for years, you know, 2-3 days a week, whatever it was. So, I mean, and I'd say more nervous maybe were some of the clients about, is it going to work out to train virtually? Like, how does that even work? I'm like, oh, you know, you'll be fine.
Figure it out.
This is what you're going to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I had clients that ended up turning like some of their rooms into a home gym.
Right.
You know, some clients where when things started to open up, they were like, I'm not going back into the gym. So it worked out, like, where a lot of people just really enjoyed doing it and made the changes in their home life to accommodate their workouts, their gym equipment.
Right. So as soon as that gym closed, I remember you, like I said, it was the very beginning of COVID, and you had rented a space, right, where you had some clients in person still.
Oh, yeah. I had rented a room in a friend's home. And it was nice because it had its own separate entrance.
Yeah.
Again, I was very lucky to have access to that. And I set it up as like a little studio gym. And I had a couple clients come train there for a while.
Right. So you did that, and then
for the people that didn't, because some, you know, not everyone wanted to train virtually. Some people were like, really needed that in person.
Right. And if they were out of state, then you still were doing virtual.
Sure.
So you were still doing some in person, some virtual. And then still your career kind of didn't really like change like to where you are now, right? Because I mean, I guess it did, because you were no longer splitting with the gym.
Yeah. I mean, things do change, right? When you don't have the certain overhead costs.
But you were renting, so there was a cost.
That I was renting that little studio space, but I wasn't splitting any of my income with anyone else.
And this is now, we're talking 2019 when COVID came?
Like
2018, 2019. So
it was 2020 when
2020? Okay, March. So wow. So that happened, and you only stayed renting that place for a few months. Yeah. And then so now we're I want to say probably, because I didn't rent it right away. But I want to say by the end of that year, I had to give up that space. And then there were times, honestly, where I would train certain people out of my dining room, where I would go to their house. Yeah.
Some people.
So we're like 10 plus years now into you being a trainer.
Oh, yeah.
And you have all these certifications. I know you're getting more at this time. You're kind of diving more deep into it. Were you taking the life coach certifications yet?
I had done that.
Okay. Yeah, so you started taking life coach certifications. I guess we can kind of touch on that a little bit. What made you do that?
One of my very good friends, Deborah, is a life coach, and she studied deeply into NLP. And I would talk to her about it all the time, and to me, it was always it made so much sense.
Right.
Because honestly, it's very like heavily based on communication, like how to communicate with people, how to understand how others communicate. And when I decided to take her training course, she was a master trainer for it. I did it for both to enhance my personal life skills and also skills as a trainer.
Because there's some people that are just a life coach.
Yeah, I didn't go into it like, oh, this is what I want to switch my career to. Right. I wanted it to just be a benefit to what I'm doing and to learn more like I said, mostly about communication, and some things I can add to it. Like I've done hypnosis with some clients. But yeah, it just really changed the way I was able to communicate.
So if you had to kind of like explain it in like long or just in layman's terms,
butcher it.
No, just in layman's terms, like, you know, it's to help with communication, you know, and also kind of like guide people, would you say, in kind of a certain...
So there's different, like so many different aspects to it. But like I said, the main, because I mean, yeah, you can get deeper into it as far as different types of therapies you can do with people.
Right.
But communication, like
huge,
like it helped me communicate with my kids.
Yeah, it's that
better.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. And then just clients, like being able to understand people, seeing, like being able to look at things through your eyes, right? Like you have a different view of the world than I do.
Yeah.
So things are going to look different through your eyes. And that was huge, like allowing me to recognize that and trying to take a look at things through your view and understanding that and speaking to you in your language.
Right. Learning how to speak to a whole bunch of different people in different ways.
Yeah. Like I was like, I don't understand why this conversation's not going well. And I would, you know, have the same conversation, say, for example, with you over and over, getting nowhere. And the insight that I gained from this was huge.
Almost like as if everybody should take this course.
Okay, well, Tyree doesn't communicate like that. So why do I keep trying to talk to him that way? And when I was able to change my ways and the way I approach things and try to understand things and other people, that was a game changer.
Okay. All right. So that definitely helped with your career.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
100%. I remember, and we might have skipped past it, but you, at what point did you created your own website?
I did. Yeah.
When did that go down?
Wow. Maybe like 8 or so years ago, at least more, maybe 8 or 10 years ago.
Okay. So like 2014, 2015. And what was that, just to help with like advertisement?
For marketing, for just building my brand.
You know, you have your own brand.
I wasn't sure where I was, you know, I wrote a cookbook. Like I just wanted to do so many different things.
So that's like, I've always known you as like a hustler. Like you weren't just a personal trainer. You had all these side things because you needed a hustle. You had kids you needed to provide. You were a single mother. You had bills like everybody else in the world, and doing just one thing isn't good enough. Especially nowadays, you can't just do one thing.
But I wanted to do, like, I was like, everyone needs to know, like, all this
good
you
had
information.
A passion for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to like dive into so much. So I was trying to do like a million different things.
You sold cookies, like protein cookies. Yeah. You had a cookbook, like you said. You had your own brand, you know, which I find very fascinating. You know, you dove into it like 110%, like you said, you know, and you gave it your all, and it's definitely showed in the end, you know. So after you stopped training in person at that place you had rented out, you had, I think at that point, went completely virtual.
So I was doing mostly virtual. Like I said, I had a couple clients, which that's what I do now is, some clients that are local, I go to their
house, to
train them.
But you at this point, you kind of had stopped doing training at the house and in person at the place you were renting, and I would say most of your clients were virtual.
Yeah,
like
so I
90%,
was doing maybe 90% virtual, and then a couple in person
and
in their homes.
I know that kind of like just that switch alone from doing it all by yourself now versus in a gym. And it also proves you don't need a gym, you know, not only to yourself.
To work out.
Right. And so I think, I mean, you tell me, is that kind of when your career took off?
Well, there's a difference in the financial end. Because at that point now, you're not paying for a studio. You're not paying to train out of a gym, right? So everything 100% is your own.
And you set your own
schedule,
prices.
You set your own prices, own schedule. I mean, if I travel, I can train from wherever I am.
That has to be one of the best things ever for you, because you love to travel, especially now. And now that
I've
you're able to
traveled a few
travel
times this year.
But it has to be amazing that you could still
work. It's not like, oh my God, I want to go to California for a week, but I can't train any clients because I'm like, my clients need to continue to work out. Like, they still need to work out.
Right. And they
can't have a vacation just because I want to go on vacation.
Right. Yeah. And you'll set it up pretty much to where you still are on vacation. You're still doing things during the day. It's just in the morning, if you're going on vacation with somebody, like before they wake up or whatever, you'll do a morning
like what are we
client.
doing at 7:00 in the morning?
Exactly. So you do 1 or 2 clients still. And so that has to be like, you're still making money on your trip.
Yeah.
And in reality, they're paying for your trip in a way. Like, you're still making money on your trip.
No, I mean,
you're getting paid vacation pretty much.
Totally. I'm still paying for the vacation. I mean, still paying my rent at home.
Yeah, exactly. But it's nice. It's nice that you still get to do that. It's nice to be able
to go away and not have to cancel clients, because I hate canceling clients.
Yeah.
The only time I did it was when I went to Italy.
Yes.
I was like, I am not training people from Italy. I'm drinking cappuccinos and eating tiramisu.
Yeah. But I feel like just seeing it from the outside looking in, I kind of saw like where all these years and all the extra time and everything that you did for clients, because you did go the extra mile where you didn't have to, right? You put in the extra time that you weren't getting paid for necessarily. And I feel like at that point, being an outsider, it's like, wow, it has finally paid off, right? You have all this experience underneath you. You have all these certifications, you're continuing education. You have to get recertified as a personal trainer every 2 years.
So each year I do some type of continuing education.
Right. It's not like you're renewing your personal training certificate. You can do it. You can get a certification in something else.
So you're renewing your certification, but your continuing education can be in a broad
but you have
range
to do it.
Of like nutrition or fitness courses.
Which I find fascinating. So you're always learning about something new.
Yeah. And I've taken CPR like 10 times.
Yes.
I'm glad it's gotten easier like throughout the years.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just having all of that, I mean, for me, it's just like, wow, like this is finally paid off for you. And like, you're at a point now in your career where it's starting to pay off pretty much of what like you've put in the grind and everything over the years. Like, you were fully on your own. Mm-hmm. You take every single dime that you make, you don't give it to anybody else, and you set your schedule, you set your price, and the relationships that you build with all of your clients, they have all become your friend now.
I joke around. I'm like, I would have no friends if I wasn't in this profession, because every friend that I have is either currently or has been in the past a client.
Yeah, and it's
or I met them
crazy.
Like through the gym.
Yeah, and you don't see that. Like the people that work out of the gym, you might be friends with 1 or 2. You know, you might create that bond, but you personally, like every single one of your clients have become a big part of your life.
Oh, huge! Like it is such a bond that is created with like client trainer, I feel.
And
you're getting like some of these people you're seeing, 3, sometimes even 4 days a week, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's like a lot of one-on-one time, and you learn a lot about your client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and creating that bond helps you keep that client too.
Sure.
Even though some of them might get to a certain point where like, okay, well, I don't necessarily need you, but you get the benefit of keeping them as a friend.
Sure.
And so you're getting more than just a payment. You're getting a long-term lifetime relationship with the person, which I find very rewarding, and I can only imagine. But just having the open availability and scheduled in too aspect of it, like, must be nice.
I can't imagine working a 9 to 5. Yeah, I mean, I build my own schedule, and there's sometimes where I am working early in the morning, and then kind of like randomly throughout the day, and then in the evening, and I don't mind. Like I've gotten to the point where I don't even really train on the weekends anymore. I mean, there was in the beginning, I was training, 7 days a week. I was available whenever anyone wanted to, and now it's like, yeah, like Sundays, nope, sorry,
That must be very nice.
It's just a matter of, setting boundaries and being able to set aside some time for myself and my family.
Well, it took a long time to get there.
Sure.
That's the thing. You didn't just be able to create your own schedule, do whatever, and here you are. It was this, like you said, 7 days a week, whatever
I needed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It was more you like whatever works out for the client.
Yeah.
Like I will just take whatever you can give me. And so like now, like what's like a normal like day of working for you look like?
I mean, I could start anywhere between 6 and 8 in the morning. Mornings are always the busiest times. I usually go straight up through noon.
Hour sessions?
They're 55 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone that I have now is a full session. I have one client that does hour and a half.
And through FaceTime?
Most of them. There's a couple that I do go to in person when they're in town. I have a couple clients, like different days of the week. I'll have a couple clients in the afternoons, kind of scattered. I'm not doing so many evenings at this point, but that kind of fluctuates in different periods of time when I have evening clients.
So, and you have, a couple of hours in between the day, in between clients, after the mornings usually, to kind of get whatever you need to get done. You get to eat, but then you also...
I need to eat often, so I always schedule in food breaks.
I mean, and you're still working, at night on...
I feel like I'm constantly like reading something or on the computer, like doing work for someone on something.
Yeah. And you're not just doing, personal training. You're also doing side things for people, and that's the benefit of becoming a good trainer is
sure. I mean,
and creating relationships with these people.
I have clients where, I do a lot of life stuff with them, lifestyle.
Right.
Coaching.
Which brings in more revenue and everything. And so you're doing a whole bunch of other different jobs. You wear a hat of
it's
many
all
different
coaching at the end of the day. But yeah, there's different branches of it for sure.
And what I tell you all the time, you're more of a therapist for these people than anything, because I can only imagine what you could talk about in an hour and then throughout the week, because you have multiple times, and having all that knowledge, being a life coach and everything, you're able to kind of help them out, to where they might not necessarily need a therapist. You kind of...
I don't replace a therapist.
Not that you replace,
but I could be a good listener.
And not just a trainer.
It's a safe place, right? When you build a relationship with someone and you see them several times a week and you also build a friendship, that training session for them is more than just a physical workout. It's their opportunity to vent about something or, to pick your brain about something or, sometimes it's about like health and fitness related things. Sometimes it's just about like the week they're having, it's their outlet,
right?
Which is, it's awesome for them that they can have that outlet physically and, verbally, mentally.
And that's how your relationship with them also gets stronger as well, because they trust you.
Yeah. They're not going to open up to me if they don't trust me.
Right. That's always fascinating. Like, just the relationships that you get out of these, and the benefits, because a lot of your clients have a lot of different careers and they can help out in a lot of different ways depending on what their career is, and I mean, it's just amazing seeing it, and I've created relationships with myself with your clients, and
because a lot of them have become like close friends, family.
No, exactly. We'd spend Christmases with some of them, sure. It's honestly insane. And I just love now that you're at the point in your career where it's like I said, you just make your own schedule, you set your own price, you're successful at what you do, you make a great living doing it, and it also for you, I can imagine it doesn't feel like work.
No, it just...
At least when you're training them, it doesn't feel like work.
I mean, it's work, but it's, again, work that I'm passionate about, work that is rewarding. There's no days that I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to work today. You know, I don't have that feeling ever with this. Right. It's like I'm excited to see my clients. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to, show up for them, and it's a good feeling.
Do you have like a certain like success story that like has always kind of stuck with you, where like didn't realize how much of an impact you had on somebody?
I mean, it's kind of cool, like when people reach out from years ago, maybe because I've done like some groups that I've trained to. So when people kind of reach out from years ago that maybe I didn't spend so much time with, and it was more of like a short-term thing, and let me know like what an impact that I've made on them, I'm like, wow, really? Like, you don't really realize sometimes, which is amazing. Kind of like that teacher that really makes that impact on a student.
Right, exactly.
I have one client that lives in Canada with serious health issues, to where he can't even do a lot of movement on his own now. He has health aids, but like that is so rewarding. Like the fact that he still works out and looks forward to his training sessions. I've been with him for years, and getting feedback from from his doctor saying like, everything that we're doing is helping him, like keeping him going. And, for his wife to tell me that like he doesn't even speak it anymore, but like that he still looks forward to our sessions, 2 days a week. Like that's incredible.
Talk about relationships. You actually went in person to Canada.
I just needed to see that. Him in person.
But and just on that alone, like just an average personal trainer can't just train somebody like that, right? Like the amount of research that you did.
Sure. Like, yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, and making sure we do like the right things for what he needs.
And that has to be like a lot of responsibility on you.
Yeah.
And once again, it's not like you're have this crazy outrageous special rate for this person just because of the condition that they have or that they're in, right? Like you're doing more work than somebody would, right? And that's what makes you different. It makes you the person you are and how successful you are, is because you're willing to put in the extra effort and, the extra learning that you have to do in order to be the best trainer for them. Yeah. And it also pays off in the end. Like you said, it's more rewarding knowing that this person is looking forward to this day and making their week.
Yeah.
Like I can only imagine.
You know what though? He makes my day as much as that training session may like be so amazing for him. Like, it's rewarding both ways, I think.
And I've seen multiple times when you're training these people and like the energy that you have, and it's not. I forgot who I was just talking to about it, but it's like that's who you are. Even behind closed doors, it's not like you're just putting up a front for these people, just putting on a smile or whatever. It's like, that's who you are 100% of the time.
High energy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, maybe you have to put a little bit more energy in, but for the most part, I would say that's just who you are as a person, and I would say in the career that you're in, that like, that's just something that you need to have characteristic wise in order to become successful, because nobody wants a personal trainer who's just like
sitting there yawning while they're training them,
right? And just trying to get through it.
Or
like you have to be motivating, to them, And so I mean,
that's how I live my life, though. Like honestly, like I look forward to every day. Like I walk down the street and I'm smiling, saying hi to people, counting blessings. So to be able to then give that to my clients especially is so easy for me and so natural.
Yeah. I would say
I want to give it to everyone. I try to give it to you all the time, and you're like, Mom, not right now,
It's a lot.
Like not right when I wake up.
Yeah. I always find it because I know and met a lot of personal trainers, and like none of them even come close. Not throwing dirt on them or anything, because there's a lot of great trainers out there. It's just the way you do it. I'd never seen anybody else do it, and
there's like some amazing coaches out there for sure.
mm-hmm.
And, people that specialize in different things,
Right.
And maybe you just, see them, you see me.
Yeah, it's hard because like I might be.
I appreciate that. I think you're a little.
I might be a little biased
in that department, but I do appreciate that. I mean, like I said, I think every coach has something different to offer to clients, but there's tons of good ones out there.
Yeah. What do you think about like somebody that has like a really hard time, with losing weight? I know, and I've come to learn and realize like a lot of it, I think we touched about it in the beginning, it's like a lot of it's mental, right? Mm-hmm. And what I've learned through my own journey is kind of like it goes hand in hand with your mental health, right? Like you kind of clean up your eating and it kind of helps with your mental health, which then in return makes it easier to continue down the path of eating healthy and losing weight. But like as far as like somebody just struggling to lose weight, right? They're your average, like they try it for a week, they do a New Year's resolution and it doesn't work out. Like would you say like the most common thing of somebody having a hard time with like just getting started?
So look, people have different things going on in their lives and different schedules. And it's like for some people, it's a lot of change to try to fit in. It's as a matter of convenience, like with the food part, what if they have a really intense career, with long days. So the thought of like meal prepping or cooking, that's a lot for them, or when are they going to fit a workout in? And yeah, there's time for everything, right? It's a matter of what you prioritize. So I think that's one of them, like someone's schedule or how stressful or not stressful their lifestyle is. Like if they have kids, like, are they cooking for a whole family and they don't want to cook separate for themselves? And,
right.
There's definitely different factors that go into it.
Where would you suggest somebody start?
Just
as far as like advice coming from a personal trainer.
Number one, be patient, right? Like trying something for a week. Like you have to be patient and consistent. So just committing to, a moderate amount of exercise per week. And like I always talk with clients to really try to figure out what's going to be realistic for them on the nutrition end.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I've had people flat out say, I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to eat. Like I eat out all the time. So then that's my job, to try to figure out how I can help them navigate to make the best choices. Let's say eating out, like where and what can they eat? And I educate them as much as I can on that. So I have to meet them where they are, where they're willing to make changes. Because it can be frustrating for people, you know, but they have to be honest with themselves and with me.
That's a huge thing.
Again, like I said, I don't have people coming yelling at me saying this is not working. You're really aware of what you're doing or not doing for the most part.
It's just having knowledge kind of behind it, like just a general knowledge of like what it takes.
Yeah. And like huge, I think that's why I encourage people to really dive into food journaling if they are struggling losing weight and they are a little bit newer at looking at food like that. Because a lot of times I have people really specifically like starting to journal and keep track of like, look at nutrition labels and keep track of calories and amounts of, teaching them like not the average person knows what a gram of sugar looks like or means or where it comes from, what it, on the ingredient list, like being able to teach someone that is a huge eye opener, when someone starts keeping track of everything and they're like, oh my God, or they don't realize when they're eating out, like how much is actually in some of these meals. So that's huge if someone is willing to do that and can kind of see for themselves.
Right.
Because I hear that a lot when they're like, Nicole, did you realize that such and such, contains this many calories. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
But I'm glad you figured that out for yourself.
That. No, definitely.
Yeah. So just consistency and patience. Like, it's not an overnight thing. It is a lifestyle change.
And don't like immediately drastically make huge changes. Kind of like
take baby steps. Look, some people can go cold turkey on things.
Yeah, me.
Other people need to make smaller changes. So again, it is very specific to
each individual.
That individual.
Yeah.
And being able to, there's no cookie cutter program.
How do you feel about those? Like those advertisements, especially oh, do this and, or take this pill. And
like I said, I just feel like everything is so individual based that everyone needs their own personally structured program on things.
It's when because you still go to the gym and work out and everything. Does it ever irk you or get under your skin sometimes if you're seeing somebody do a workout and incorrectly?
So, look, I'm really not in the gym looking at others or judging others. Honestly, I don't like to see if someone's doing something I'm incorrectly and they could hurt themselves,
Right, because you can get seriously hurt.
But people do things certain ways for certain reasons. And I think I've told you that. I'm well, they might have a good reason for doing it that way. And who am I to judge or say something is wrong or right? There's so many different ways to exercise now and different ways to do things. So
is it harder? Because I know it's one of the biggest things. You could really, really hurt yourself working out, even if you know what you're doing. You could just do one set wrong. And really screw up your day. Is it harder not training in person to really watch that?
So I've only trained a couple people virtually that were a first-time client.
Okay.
And I mean, each of them had worked out previously at some point, so it's not like they had no knowledge. But yeah, just really starting from basics, with people to get that foundation to make sure everything they're doing is safe. With my clients that I've trained in person, that I also train virtually, we've done all the basics. We've, worked on their good form in person. It's not like I have them doing anything crazy,
Right. You don't do a lot of heavy weight.
No, they're not.
Training.
Yeah, they're not doing anything where they need a spotter.
Right.
That's not the type of training, that they're doing.
Right.
So,
and I've come to learn it's not always about weight, how much weight you can throw up. Oh, I can bench, 3 plates, 4 plates, and it's that doesn't necessarily.
Sure, if that's your goal,
right? If you're doing more bodybuilding and stuff like that, understandable. But if you're a regular person, I would imagine, at least learning from you, you've always told me it's not about how much weight you can throw up, right? It's about your form and how, just
getting stronger if you want to get stronger.
Getting stronger, exactly.
Functional movements, flexibility,
cardio based,
sure, endurance.
Endurance, it's and
having a good combination of fitness,
especially if your goal is to lose weight. I would imagine you're not focused on how much weight they can throw up.
Well, sure. You want to have that combination of strength training and cardiovascular exercise.
Yeah.
And also stretching is important.
And the more weight that you throw up, the more prone you are to get injured too, I'd imagine.
Well, no, I mean, as long as your progression is safe,
And I personally like to bench, but I know you and how you feel about bench press. What's the deal with that?
I don't have anything against it.
You don't?
No.
Does it? Do you?
You just always ask me how much can you bench? How much? I'm
well,
I don't.
And I say it jokingly because you're just you're just naturally ripped for some reason. I didn't get that from you, but what would you consider a better workout than bench press? that hits the same muscle?
I think it depends on what that individual's goals are.
It's more like, and also preference too. Like,
as far as
what's like comparable to doing bench press?
I mean, you can press with dumbbells.
Okay.
You know, you can use machines, just using the different, just the different types of equipment.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, because I found, at least with, it also depends on certain injuries too. Because I know I had a problem with my left shoulder, and bench pressing would always aggravate it.
Yeah.
But I found out I can do other exercises that still concentrate on the
safer.
Right, exactly. I guess that's kind of like what I was asking.
So yeah, if you have an injury, of course there's things that are going to be safer than others doing in the gym.
And that must be hard as a personal trainer working around injuries.
And so, yeah, and you know, if you have people that have been working out for years, or maybe an older population where there's going to be maybe more injuries than a 20-year-old has, right? And being able to navigate around that. And that comes down to, I think, a lot of the functional training and building core strength and really getting that good foundation with people.
Yeah.
And keeping them strong all around.
Excuse me. That's what that's why I've learned over time is like, you got to work out the whole body.
Oh, yeah.
Because and it's important because. You
can't just go in the gym and work out chest.
Yeah, and that whole thing with skipping leg days with guys and everything, but it's important because your legs are your base, you know, and they need to be strong enough to
work out all the muscles.
Exactly, and it benefits it all around. And I know, at least because I've worked out with you before, and you kind of being my trainer and everything, and doing all these crazy other different workouts, and it's concentrating muscles that I don't hit normally by just doing
like your
chest press exercises. Or lat pull downs, you know, and doing all these other workouts where I'm like, why do my muscles feel tired?
Yeah.
You know, which is crazy. And I guess is another huge benefit to having a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Because they're making you do all these other workouts and that you've never done before, you know, and you could burn me out in 5 minutes in a circuit workout. And I could last hours in a gym by myself, you know, and it's just
a different type of workout.
Yeah, and you keep me going and you keep my heart rate up and everything. I'm kind of like, okay, can we take a break?
You're going to die now.
Can we take a break, you know? And so I always find it fascinating, always continue to learn through you because, you know, just an average person that, you know, even though you know what you're doing, there's always so much more that you could do. You know, and I just find that fascinating. What was the oldest client that you've had before?
Oh, in age?
Yeah.
Oh, I had that one lady. Was she 82?
Wow.
I think she was 82. I remember that was at the first gym that I trained at. Yeah.
How was that?
She was going.
That's, I mean, a big difference from training somebody in their like 30s or late 20s, I would imagine.
I mean, I've trained kids, you know?
Yeah.
I've done kids fitness. I've had clients that were teenagers, and then I've had clients in their 80s.
Yeah.
So all ages, all levels.
That has to be a lot of knowledge that you need to know to kind of navigate and accommodate, I would say.
Oh, sure.
Like,
it's all different.
That goes back to the learning that you do in the behind the scenes, you know, and so it's just, I mean,
there's always more to learn. Always.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, you're not always necessarily getting paid for that, you know, but it's what you're passionate about, you know, and I mean, what's next for you, do you think?
Question of the day.
Yeah, because I mean, look at where you've gotten now. You know, you've gotten like all the way from working at a front desk to you do own your own company. You don't work for anybody. You're very successful. You know, I know you don't have your website anymore because it wasn't really the point of that. But is there kind of a next step, or do you
I'm trying to figure that out? Like, there's more I want to do. Like, I'm not done. There's more to do. There's more lives to touch. I'm not sure exactly what avenue I'm going to go in, but it's definitely going to be somewhere in this field. I'm still doing what I'm doing now, but I have more to do.
Right.
I just haven't figured it all out yet.
Do you think you found like your true, like, I wouldn't say comfort, because once you get comfortable, it's a bad thing, but like you found kind of like a rhythm to where it's like, oh, okay, like this is really good.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely in a rhythm, but yeah, you can't get too complacent.
Right.
Like that's why I'm always still trying to like learn more and grow in different areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I found fascinating too with getting, more clients, because being on your own is a lot different than being in a gym, because you're kind of handed, clients, right? So It's like how you've gotten yours is through your actual clients. They've referred.
Yeah, it's all referral based right now.
Wow.
And again, just maintaining my clientele throughout the years. A lot of them. So
yeah, and I know you got into a point where you kind of had to, not necessarily like decline clients, but like you had your schedule to where you felt comfortable and where you were perfectly good at, and you didn't want to take on anymore because it would kind of interfere with the time that you had to yourself.
I do set boundaries, like giving myself time to sleep, but go to yoga classes, go work out myself. Like I make sure I have time. I make sure I have time to eat lunch. Like I'm not going to work straight through.
Right.
So, but as far as actually, I think the only time I've turned clients down is if they really could only train at a certain hour that I already have clients scheduled and I can't accommodate their time. That would be the only time I've really not been able to take on a new client.
Okay. And so what was your latest certification that you got? Was it the life coach?
I redid that one a few months ago for life coach, and then also this year, what did I do? I think I finished one in bodybuilding.
Okay.
Just for some more education, I think.
Which I totally forgot about.
I know.
We didn't even go into, which you did bodybuilding.
I did a figure competition years back.
Yeah. And you did 3 times.
I did twice.
Twice. You got second place twice? Or third place once, second place
Yeah, I think
once?
I did like third place and second place.
Yeah. And that was shortly after you had did the whole life change yourself and everything. And you were a personal trainer.
That was like 2008 or 2009, maybe. I competed. I just did back-to-back 2 competitions for figure.
Yeah, which that was a lot
that was
within
a whole nother
itself.
Experience.
Like,
yeah,
the amount that you put your body through.
Yes, that was quite intense.
Like, I mean,
talk about a learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've just learned a little bit just from people who I watch on YouTube and everything, and like what they put their body through, even like just hours before. And like how they dehydrate themselves and all that. Like you see all these people that do figure competition or bodybuilding right after they have like a box of donuts or something. And it's like, cause they haven't had sugar in like months.
Yeah.
Cause you have to like leading up to it for months. You're like on a super strict diet. Like, and you cannot like cheat or anything. Cause it shows. Like, I know you told me you'll never put yourself through that ever again.
Yeah, I don't have a desire to. Like, I did it once, and I'm grateful for that experience. I'm glad I did it. Just not something at this point in my life like I have a desire to do, but I'm glad that I was able to do that.
Right.
And the discipline that you get from, that you have to practice in doing that is incredible.
And that's a huge step from just losing weight. Like, it's 2 totally different.
Oh, no.
Like, you want to talk about dedication.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, that's your job. That's a full-time job.
And I bet that has to be motivating for your clients too. Like, see somebody who is kind of dealing with the same struggles of like losing weight and everything, to becoming a person that can do figure competition, like, is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and just having your story too, because not every single trainer starts unhealthy. You know, a lot of them are healthy, super ripped and everything, and goes into it because they have passion for it.
They're, you know,
they like it and enjoy it. And like having somebody like you that understands the struggle has to be a lot better.
The emotional aspect of it, sure.
Right. You can kind of sympathize and empathize with them and understand it. Like, which I feel like gives you an upper hand too, because a lot of these trainers can't.
Well, I can relate to people, and you know, it's not like just, oh, do this, do that, or you can do this. Like, hey, I had 2 small kids and not a lot of knowledge, and I was able, to make this transformation. You just gotta, anyone can do it.
Yeah. And that goes for like anything in life, I would say. Like, everybody has something that they're going through or something going on, and they might not want to take that step, or it might be too scary. And I mean, it just goes to show, like, anybody can do it. Like, especially in your case, like, you had 2 kids, single parent, had bills, had a house need to be paid for, and you weren't necessarily going to be making a set amount, right? You start off with 1 client, and that was your pay. So, you had to put in the effort and the time, and how to go through all the hoops and everything to get to where you are now. And that, like I said, goes for pretty much anything and everything in life.
Again, I had such amazing people along the way. Like, the gym owners I worked for were all such a huge part of my success. Each and every one of them, helped me to get clients. I was just in a really good environment for what I was doing.
Yeah. I've learned a lot from you in that aspect of just watching how hard you work and knowing what you had to deal with and kind of go through, and like having kids and everything, and like whatever it is that I decide in life, the choices that I've made, I kind of look back at you and like, well, if she could do it in this situation, I don't have kids, I don't have all this going on and everything, like, then I could definitely do it. Like, it might be scary, but it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
And I have a lot to thank for you for that. Because it's not always the easiest thing. You might think that, oh, I can't, you start making excuses for yourself, like, I can't do this because I have this obligation, or what if it doesn't work out? And it's like, you kind of,
it's easy to come up with all the reasons why something is not going to work.
Right. Yeah.
You could tell yourself that all day long, but remember, like, our body is smart, our mind is smart, and it's going to listen to, what we're telling it. So feed positivity to yourself.
Right.
Because yourself listens.
Exactly. And that's why it's also important too on the mental aspect, is like, people who struggle with like depression or just like stress or anxiety or whatever, like, eating good and feeding yourself good things helps with that.
Oh my God.
It won't necessarily solve the problem, but it helps tremendously.
Absolutely.
Like,
I am a firm believer of that.
I find myself, like, whenever I'm down or whatever, if I just change the way I'm eating, alone, and just go to the gym a couple of times, it's like it changes.
Whoa.
Yeah, it changes because your brain is eating it too. Like, you're fueling your brain at the end of the day. And if you're feeding it crap, like, it's just gonna make it harder. And I know we kind of talked about addiction and like food addiction and everything, and like how hard it is to kick that.
Yeah.
Like, it's real. I didn't believe in it at first. Like, I was like the average person that thought, like, well, stop eating. Like, stop. Like, but they're feeding their addiction and they're feeding their depression, and they just stress eat. And it's hard. I did it myself, not even realizing it. Like, when I was just down, I had locked myself in a room. I was just eating because it just helped pass the time. It was comforting. Yeah.
But it's all temporary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how do you get somebody through that? Like, knowing that they're just comfort eating.
And that gets kind of deeper.
Right.
You know, some people it's more than just like making changes. They need to work with a therapist sometimes, or, more intensely with some type of life coaching or addiction counselor. It really depends on how deep.
The problem goes deeper than, whether, exactly.
If they're having like, really harsh like depression issues, like sometimes they need a little more.
And they could be addicted to anything, drugs, alcohol, smoking, whatever. If eating's one of them, it's just another addiction, and the problem goes deeper than that. It's just like, if you can get a hold of certain things, it could change so much. And just eating alone, like, it's crazy how much it truly changes.
I mean, certain foods feed depression and anxiety and disease. And, there's also foods that can go, in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of like not eating certain foods and adding in other foods along with like exercise, and some sunshine goes a long way.
Well, because you look at things that like very holistic way. You don't like medicine really, unless it's necessary.
Sure. I mean, there's certain things that, you need medicine for, but to be able to do things just more naturally.
Mm-hmm. Like you were saying, diseases, like there's a lot of ways you could just change eating that would help that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes even cure it. I've heard
like can help fight certain diseases.
Right.
Sure.
And the keto diet was for, like, when it first came out or became a thing, what was it for? I don't remember. Initially, it was for some disease, right? Mm-hmm. Initially, and then people have adopted it into a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And not saying it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It works for some people or it doesn't work for others. But I just find that fascinating too. It's like, if you have an illness or something, you could just change the way you eat.
Oh,
like
100%.
Which is crazy, but not a lot of trainers know that.
Well, again, it's kind of like a different realm from just personal training.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into like that. Really goes into holistic nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm not a fan of medicine either. That goes back to the shot and everything, But if it works for some people, it does. But like, I would say like 90%. If you're trying to lose weight, 90% of it is your diet. Like the other 10% is like exercise and staying active and doing all that. But like the main thing that you try to tackle first is just what you eat.
It's got to be a good balance of everything.
Yeah. Whoa. Wow.
That
was
my brain is tapped out.
Yeah, that was a lot.
You made me go way back.
I know. I kind of wanted to cover, everything from like the start of being a personal trainer, how to get into it, what you could end up becoming as long as you put in the time and effort, like and go through the struggles and everything. You give it your all, like where you could become now. The
health and fitness field is and nutrition is so broad that
you can do anything.
I don't know where I'm going next. Like there's so many possibilities,
right?
It's just kind of pinpointing like where, where do I want to end up? Like, where's my passion going?
Exactly. And you've gotten to a point now where you could travel.
Who do I want to help?
Right. Exactly. So. And it's benefiting you in the back end. You get to travel, you get to make your own schedule, and you're living your life. And, I'm excited to see where it goes for you.
Luckily, you'll be one of the first to know.
I know. Well, I appreciate you and everything you do and doing this for me, and kind of spreading your knowledge and, who knows, you might help a couple people along the way and continue to help.
I hope so.
And so thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you too.